Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be, doing a deep dive into something pretty interesting, I think at least. It's this whole process of getting a new drug approved, like all the steps, right?
Yeah, it's way more complicated than people think, for sure.
For sure. So to kind of guide us, we've got this, I think it's a strategy document,
Yeah,
maybe?
looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it could be from, let me see, a company maybe called Enkrisi.
Enkrisi, right. They seem to specialize in the regulatory side of drug development.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So the regulatory side, but what does that actually mean, like when we talk about getting a drug approved?
So basically, we're talking about the chemistry, manufacturing, and controls part. CMC, it's often called.
CMC, okay. So what's that all about then?
It's about making sure that the drug is safe and effective,
Uh-huh.
at every step of the way, from the initial ingredients all the way to the final pill, that someone would actually take.
Oh, okay. So it's like if you were baking a cake, you'd need the right ingredients, the right recipe, and a clean kitchen to make sure that, it turns out delicious every time. Am I on the right track?
That's a great analogy.
Huh.
Yeah, consistency and quality are really key here, and that's what this document seems to be all about.
Okay, so tell me more about this document then. What makes it so, I guess, unique or interesting to deep dive into?
Well, one thing that really caught my eye was how they describe it. They don't call it a static checklist, which is what you might expect.
Right, yeah, right.
It's more like a dynamic map, like almost a living document that kind of evolves as the drug is being developed.
Okay, so less like a set of rules and more like a GPS system that helps you navigate all the twists and turns of getting a drug approved.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where they bring in this idea of augmented intelligence. They're talking about using AI.
Oh, AI. That's interesting. So like artificial intelligence is being used in this process. How?
Yeah, to analyze data, predict potential problems, and really try to optimize the whole process. It's pretty cutting edge stuff.
Okay, so we hear about AI everywhere these days, but in drug development specifically, what would be an example of that? What would that look like?
Well, imagine being able to predict if a drug will be stable, like on a shelf for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Or if you tweak the manufacturing process just slightly, will it improve the yield?
Interesting.
So AI is being used to model all those things. And it can help scientists and engineers make, smarter decisions way earlier in the process.
So it's not just about speed then, it's also about like preventing mistakes and costly delays later on.
Exactly. And it seems like this dynamic document is really the key to making it all work.
Okay.
It keeps everyone on the same page, from the chemists who are actually synthesizing the drug all the way to the quality control folks who are making sure every batch is up to standard.
So we've got all these different teams working on different aspects of this CMC thing, right? So how does this document actually help them in their day-to-day work?
Well, you can think of it as like a central hub of information. Let's say you're a chemist and you're working on a new drug formulation.
Mm-hmm.
The document, it doesn't just guide you through the necessary experiments, but it also helps you visualize how different, ingredients or processes might affect the final product.
Oh, so there are actual like visuals, like charts and diagrams and stuff in this document. It's not just text.
Yeah, exactly. So they can see how changing the temperature at one stage of manufacturing might affect the purity levels later on,
Mm.
or how different analytical methods compare when they're trying to detect impurities.
Huh. So it's about connecting the dots visually.
Exactly, and that can be super powerful.
Yeah, I can see that. So it's way more than just checking boxes on a form then. It's about like really understanding this whole CMC landscape.
Yeah, it's about bringing that understanding to everyone involved
Mm-hmm.
and facilitating collaboration
Mm.
and making sure everyone's making decisions based on the best possible information.
So we've talked about the chemists, but what about the engineers? The ones who are actually responsible for taking this drug from like a lab bench to, like a full-blown manufacturing line. How does this document help them?
That's where the dynamic part comes in, I think,
Yeah.
because the manufacturing process it's not set in stone at the beginning.
Right, right.
It evolves, right?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
the drug moves through development, you get new information. Maybe a certain impurity crops up,
Hmm.
or a new regulation comes out that changes the requirements.
Oh, right, of course, yeah.
So this document, it allows the engineers to adapt their plans and make sure the manufacturing process stays compliant and efficient.
So it's like a living blueprint that they can update and adjust throughout the whole journey.
Precisely. And because everyone's working from the same constantly updated document,
Right.
any changes that one team makes are like instantly visible to everyone else. So it prevents a lot of miscommunication and costly errors.
Wow. Okay, this is fascinating. But we haven't even talked about the quality control folks yet, the people who are making sure that the drug is actually, safe and effective. What role do they play in all of this?
Well, they're the guardians of quality.
Hmm.
And this document, it's like their arsenal. It outlines every test that needs to be conducted at each stage of development, from the raw materials all the way to the final product, in the packaging.
Okay.
It ensures that all those tests are done according to the strictest regulatory guidelines,
Yeah.
and that all the results are properly documented and analyzed.
So it's not just testing the final pill, it's like testing every step along the way, making sure each component meets the standards.
Exactly. Like a chain of quality checks, all guided by this dynamic document.
This is already so much more insightful than just a basic overview of drug development. But there's one piece we haven't really discussed yet, and that's the regulatory agencies themselves, the FDA, for example. How does this document help companies, navigate that whole world of getting approval?
Yeah, so that's where the document becomes a really powerful communication tool. It provides this clear and comprehensive record of the entire CMC development process. So it demonstrates to regulators that the company has, followed all the rules, conducted the right tests, and basically generated all the necessary data to prove that the drug is safe and effective.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about internal communication and efficiency. It's also about building trust and transparency with the regulatory bodies.
Absolutely. Having a well-organized, meticulously maintained document like this can make the whole regulatory review process much smoother. It just shows that a company is, taking things seriously and that they have a deep understanding of what's required.
Okay, so this is all incredibly valuable information, but I have to wonder, with all this planning and documentation, doesn't it slow things down? I mean,
Yeah.
time is of the essence when you're talking about, getting potentially life-saving drugs to people who need them.
That's a great question, and it's actually something we're going to dive into much deeper in the next part of our deep dive, but I'll leave you with this thought. While it might seem counterintuitive, having a robust and dynamic strategy like this in place can actually speed things up in the long run.
Okay, now you've really got me curious.
Mm.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back to explore that and more in part 2 of our deep dive into the world of regulatory drug development. All right, welcome back, everyone. After that first part, I'm really starting to see drug development in a whole new light.
It really is a whole world unto itself, isn't it?
It is. And you left us with kind of a cliffhanger there. How can all this planning and documentation actually speed things up? It just seems counterintuitive.
Well, think of it this way. Would you rather build a house with a detailed blueprint or just start laying bricks and hope for the best?
Yeah, I definitely want the blueprint. I mean, even if it takes more time up front, you'd probably save yourself a lot of headaches later, right?
Exactly. And that's kind of the beauty of this dynamic strategy document we're talking about. It's like that blueprint, but for the whole CMC process. So it helps the company anticipate challenges,
Yeah.
make smarter decisions, and avoid those costly mistakes that could really delay things.
So it's not just about following the rules then, it's about actively managing risk
Oh,
and staying ahead of the game, so to speak.
yeah, precisely. And one area where this is really important is in dealing with the regulatory landscape,
Yeah.
because it's constantly changing, right? New guidelines, new requirements, always coming out.
Oh, for sure. It's like hitting a moving target, isn't it?
Exactly. And without a clear roadmap, you can easily get lost in that maze of regulations
Yeah.
and end up making some pretty costly missteps. But this document, this dynamic document, it allows companies to adjust their course as needed and make sure they're staying compliant even when the rules change.
So they're not just stuck with a static document. It's constantly being updated.
Oh, absolutely. It has to
Yeah.
be. And that's where the AI comes in again, actually.
right.
And Enkrisi, they talk about using AI to monitor these regulatory changes and alert the teams to any potential impact on their development plans.
So it's like having a personal assistant that keeps you up to date on all the latest regulations.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
And it allows companies to be more proactive,
Yeah.
right, instead of reactive. So they're anticipating changes and making adjustments before it becomes a major roadblock.
So this document helps them adapt to the regulatory changes, but what about like unforeseen challenges, things that pop up during development? Because, I mean, things don't always go according to plan, right?
Oh, never. Think about maybe some clinical trial results come back and they're not
Mm.
what you expected, or maybe there's a sudden shortage of a key ingredient or a raw material.
Oh, wow, yeah. That would throw a wrench in the works.
Yeah, it can really derail things and cause significant delays.
I bet those situations are pretty stressful, especially with so much at stake.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
But having this dynamic strategy document in place, it allows companies to quickly assess the impact of those challenges, right? And identify potential solutions and just make more informed decisions about how to move forward.
So it helps them stay agile.
Yes, agile and responsive, even when faced with uncertainty.
So it's like a built-in risk management tool. It helps them navigate the bumps in the road, so to speak.
Exactly. It encourages a proactive approach to problem solving. And that makes sure the challenges are addressed quickly and efficiently, to minimize delays and keep the development process on track.
We've been talking about this document a lot from the company's perspective, but I'm curious, what about the people who are actually working on the drug? How does it impact them, like their day-to-day lives?
Hmm. That's a great question. And I think it really gets to the heart of why this whole approach is so powerful. By providing a clear framework and a shared understanding of the goals, of the requirements, it fosters a much more collaborative and efficient working environment.
So it's not just about like ticking boxes and following rules. It's about actually empowering the people who are doing the work.
Exactly. It breaks down the silos between departments and encourages open communication.
Yeah.
Everyone feels a sense of ownership over the project, and that leads to better problem solving, faster decision making, and just a more positive and productive work environment overall.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be a huge benefit for everyone involved, really. But let's zoom out a bit. How does this document, how does it impact the overall success of a drug development program?
Well, I think as we've been discussing, it helps to reduce the risk of those costly delays and setbacks,
Hmm.
right? By anticipating potential problems and having, plans in place,
Yeah.
companies can avoid a lot of unnecessary rework and just keep the development moving forward at a good pace.
Right, because in this industry, time is money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every delay pushes back the launch date, which, could cost the company millions.
Oh, absolutely. But it's not just about speed, it's also about quality, right?
Right.
By having this clear roadmap and this rigorous system of checks and balances, companies can ensure that every step of the development process is carried out to the highest standards. And that means safer and more effective medications for patients.
So it's about getting it there quickly, but also getting it there the right way.
Exactly. This dynamic approach, it ensures that quality is baked into the process from the very beginning. It's not just an afterthought.
That's good to hear. But we also have to acknowledge that, drug development is a business. And companies are always looking for ways to be more efficient, right, with their resources. How does this document help with that?
Well, by streamlining the whole development process and minimizing wasted effort, fewer delays, fewer mistakes, less rework, that translates into real cost savings. And those savings can be, reinvested back into R&D.
So it's a win-win, really. They can bring drugs to market faster, more efficiently, and still ensure the highest levels of quality and patient safety.
Exactly. And that focus on efficiency and cost savings, it can potentially lead to more affordable medications down the line, which is a win for everyone, really.
This has been really insightful. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, but I also feel like we're just scratching the surface of this whole topic.
There's always more to explore. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dives, I want to leave you with a thought. If this dynamic strategy document can have such a profound impact on drug development, what other aspects of healthcare could benefit from a similar approach? Could it be applied to clinical trial design or patient recruitment or even healthcare policy? What do you think?
Hmm. That's a great question to ponder. I mean, it seems like those principles of adaptability, collaboration, transparency, those could be valuable in a lot of different healthcare settings.
Yeah, for sure. And that's actually something we're going to explore a little bit further in part three of our deep dive. We're going to shift our focus from the companies who are developing these drugs to you, the listener, and talk about how understanding these complexities can actually empower you in your own healthcare journey.
Sounds good. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back to delve into that and wrap up our exploration of this this dynamic world. Welcome back, everyone. We've been on quite the journey, exploring this world of regulatory drug development. And I've got to say, it's been really, really eye-opening.
Yeah, it really is. Complex, for sure, but understanding it can be incredibly empowering, especially for you, the listener, in your own healthcare decisions.
Right. We've talked a lot about the companies, the science behind it all, but in the end, it always comes back to the patient. So how does knowing all this help us, navigate our own health?
I think, for one thing, it demystifies the process. You know what I mean? It takes
Yeah.
away that black box feeling of medicine where you take a pill and you kind of hope it works.
Right, because now we know how much actually goes into making sure that pill is safe and effective. It's years of research, testing, all these quality checks.
Exactly. And knowing all that can give you more confidence, I think, in the medications you're prescribed. And it empowers you to ask more informed questions.
So instead of just, taking what the doctor says at face value, we can actually have a more meaningful conversation with them.
Yeah, absolutely. You can ask about the clinical trials that were done for a specific drug. You can ask how the manufacturing process is controlled. Ask about potential side effects.
Yeah.
You can even ask if there are alternative treatments that might be, a better fit for you.
So it's about being more proactive in our own healthcare, not just, passively accepting things.
Exactly. And that knowledge, it can make a real difference, not just in your own health, but also in advocating for better healthcare policies.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't think about that. How so? How does understanding, the ins and outs of drug development make us better advocates?
Well, if you understand how complex it is, all the challenges involved in bringing a new drug to market, you're in a much better position to evaluate, proposed regulations or policies.
So we can be like more informed voters, making sure that the people we elect are supporting policies that actually promote innovation and make sure that people can get access to new treatments.
Exactly. You can also advocate for policies that, address the affordability of medications because you'll have a better understanding of what goes into, the cost of drug development.
This is really empowering stuff. I mean, we started this whole deep dive looking at what seemed like a pretty technical document, and now we're talking about changing healthcare policy.
It all connects in the end. And the more we understand how this system works, the better equipped we are to navigate it and push for positive change.
It really has been an incredible journey, and I feel like we've learned so much. Are there any resources you'd recommend for people who want to, keep learning about this?
Yeah, there are some great resources online. The FDA website is a good place to start. And there are lots of reputable organizations that provide information on drug development and the regulatory processes involved.
And, don't forget the power of just talking to people. Your doctor, your pharmacist, maybe friends or family who work in healthcare. They can offer really valuable perspective.
Oh, for sure. And never underestimate your own curiosity. Keep asking questions. Keep exploring and keep pushing for a healthcare system that really prioritizes patient well-being and scientific advancement.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's a perfect note to end on, I think. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We hope you found it enlightening, and we'll see you next time.